What's up, Mananap? Welcome to this tutorial. Now that we have already set up MySQL Server and created a database as well as a table using a UI environment, which is PHP MyAdmin. So we actually created a database and a table there in which there are actually bunch of like fields and buttons that we can choose from or we can actually use so in order for us to set up our database. Now for today I'm going to run through you how to create and set up a database using command line interface, which is a uh, I mean for me personally, aside from it is fun, it is actually it will actually teach you how to, I mean, you will really learn from this because you will get familiar with the SQL, some SQL scripts that are not present there in PHP admin, as well as um, you know how to get things done. Okay, so to get started, I want you guys to go to your exam. So right here, so I have here my exam, and then make sure to start the my PHP, I mean the MySQL and the Apache server. So in Windows, you'll need to start both, okay? Or you can actually start all of it, all of them. So this time, I'm going to also start the Apache, MySQL, and the MySQL and Apache, of course. So, well, in Windows, it would be easier for you to look for the folder where the bin directory is, or it's actually can be found in directly from C directory, and then under it there's XAMPP there, and then MySQL, and then bin. It's so easy to actually navigate. Now in some OS like Mac OS, I can be found either in a user or either in application. If just in case, if you find difficult to look for it, you can actually go to volumes and then um, mount the that this one, okay, and then after that you can easily look into it by clicking explore button. So right here, this is what we're actually heading to the bin folder. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to teach, I mean why I do this is because this is important for you to know where we are actually heading. So we're actually going to bin, which is the bin uh, includes the directories, where include directories or files where the our SQL scripts are actually being read. So probably the translators are actually here now, the MySQL translators. So uh, for now, I would like you to go to general, and then let's go to terminal. So we have the option to either go to terminal, and we have to navigate from that directory, from this directory rather, uh, where I have actually shown you earlier, going to bin. But this time, since we have already a like I mean, in general, we have here already an open terminal. It's already linked. So meaning to say, the directory where we expect to navigate is already set up. So for now, this one, I'm going to type some scripts. So let's say we are going to set up now a username and a password. So my SQL-u root dash p. So when we talk about invoking and SQL scripts, we have to start with, I mean, we are actually now we are actually setting a or trying to invoke creating a username and a password. Now our username says here that it's root and the password is empty, or it's something like we don't set a password for our SQL or for our database. Okay, so allow me to repeat my S. MySQL dash u dash root p what happens with bro. Let me repeat there. Okay, MySQL dash u root dash happens what happened there. All right, so I have here already a uh, I mean, it's actually asking me to input the password, but this time I'm gonna be I'm gonna be leaving it emptied or empty. So there, so I'm already shown with the welcome message of the MariaDB or database monitor, wherein uh, as you can see here, there's also a version of the server of what we actually installed in our machine. So this time, I'm gonna be invoking some scripts like show databases. So I'm going to invoke that SQL script, show databases. It's going to let me know what are the databases currently created in my machine or in that particular server. Okay, so this time I have here few of them. So let's say we're going to create another, or we are going to create our own or our database through this interface. Okay, so all we just need to do is we create a database. Create, create database, or you can actually make it like um, uppercase, but it doesn't matter because SQL is actually it's a not case sensitive, no, or it's a language, it's a fourth generation language, meaning to say it's not the same with the first gen language, which is normally it is case sensitive. Okay, so SQL is not case sensitive. So we have here create database, okay, or database, something like that, database. Let's say I normally use DB or DBMS to as a prefix of whatever I'm going to create as a database because it's it would be easier for me to to identify what I am trying to actually do. Like DB stands for a database, but it depends on your preference. So I would like create DB, let's say DB underscore sample, or you can actually use the what we call this one DB sample, which is in a Pascal case base, but I in database I normally use um, the camel case rather. I normally use Pascal case base, which is let's say sample DB underscore sample. So this is like uh, Pascal case. So yeah, again, the other one is DB sample. It's camel case. So every first letter of the word is capitalized. Okay, except for the first letter of that name. Okay, so let's say we have DB sample. I created a database DB sample for which name DB sample. So there, once you are okay, the our server is actually going to display something like very okay, blank row affected. So like there are 3 rows, 2 rows, or 4 rows affected. Or if you have inserted 4 records to your table, it's going to display 4 rows affected. So this time, since we already the invoke SQL is just going to affect actually we just invoke one SQL statement. So I mean, yeah. So seems like that now one row affected. So anyway, along the way when we get to familiar with when we get to run some scripts in MySQL, we will be actually encountering a lot of this like as long as it doesn't matter now, but as long as you are given query, okay, you're good to go. Okay, so now this time we are going to create a data table. So let's say create a table or create table. Okay, let's say Okay, I also use or follow the naming convention in creating a table by starting with the prefix TPL or using the prefix TPL. Okay, but again, you can you can do your own thing. So I have here create table TPL. Let's say I'm going to store person. So create table TPL person. So I can use camel case, but what I normally do is I use uh, Pascal case. Okay, so create table TPL person, and then right here you have let's say I'm going to store name of a person, gender and age of a person. So I have your name, so Parker. So I have discussed this one earlier. I mean, in my previous topic, which is about data types. So you have here Parker. Let's say I'm going to, or it can store up to 30 characters. I have here like gender, and I'm going to only use minimal storage, which is let's say car, and it can only store up to 6 characters. And then let's say I have here age, I can use int or I can actually use tiny int, right? So and then up it can store only up to 3 digits. Okay. So I have here create table table person name and then the data type rather. So which says barker of 30 characters and gender with 6 characters and age with a tiny int up to 3 digits. So if I'm going to invoke this SQL statement by pressing enter, this would be snap. So by the way, when good thing because we are doing the live coding now. So one thing you need not to forget is choosing which of these databases you are actually trying to to manage. So let's say for an instance, I'm going to show my databases, show databases. So right there, since I already created a database named DB sample, we have here DB sample. I'll need to call use DB or invoke an SQL script that says the use meaning we are going to use this database. So use db sample. All right. So now I have here already I have here already invoke an SQL statement that would that means that I'm gonna be using db sample instead among all of this list of databases. So right here, it will give you a display of like database change. Okay, so this time I'm going to invoke the SQL statement that I have invoked earlier. So by pressing arrow up in your case, okay, arrow up. So I'm just pressing arrow up until I will get back to the earlier SQL statement that I have written. Okay, so right here I'm now in this particular SQL statement, and then I'm going to hit enter and there. So you have created a database, a table in that particular database, which says here that your query is okay and there's no row being stored or affected for the moment or as of the moment. Okay, so this time I'm going to invoke some scripts like show tables. So if show databases will show databases listed or created in your server. For showing your tables naman, you'll have to just invoke a show tables. So that's it. Show tables uh, under this table, which is in DB sample. Now, what if I'm going to create more? So let's say I'm going to create another uh, database, a table rather. So let's say ABL pet. Okay. And then this time I'm going to include or put an ID. So we have here int. I would put here 12. there. So we have here ID, name, gender, and by the way, um, I also follow the naming convention, which I actually didn't do earlier. So, like for an instance, the my table represents a pet, so all of my fields there and attributes should be like would have prefix of pet. So let's say pet, but you don't have to do this. But this only my case. Not this is only my personal experience because sometimes if we I mean, in the succeeding weeks, we are going to be, something like create relationships within our table and eventually or something like we are going to unite them or join them, and then if both tables have like same name or like person has name, pet has name field, also has gender field, it's also has another table has also gender field, age field, and whatsoever. Now if you're going to unite them or going to join the records of these two tables, at some point it's going to display two IDs. So two names, two gender, and you would likely uh, get confused because which ID is it? Which name is it? Is it for pet or is it for person? So I would suggest if you are going to create a field or an attribute of your table, make sure to also follow the naming convention of to what the table represents with or to what the table is going to represent. So let's say since this table represents pet, so I would choose pet, then uh, underscore ID, and also with the pet underscore name. And also we have here pet underscore gender. And then for my age, I will also here put here pet age. So after that, I'm going to hit enter, and there I have now created the table pet. So let's say I'm going to show the tables in that particular database. So I have here tables in DB sample. So I can describe these tables by using the describe or invoking describe SQL. Let's say describe DBL person. Okay, and now you are actually showing data dictionary or the metadata. So you can also show the or describe your pet. No? So as you can see here, you have the fields name, gender, age for your person, and you also have your fields here for ID, name, gender, and age. And on that, beside of every field, there's type there. Actually data. It's a data type corresponds to each of the fields. And for now, we don't set any constraints like the our records can actually or our field can actually be set to null, which is actually yes, yes. For now, let's actually leave it for now, that as it is. And then key also, if we're going to set primary key constraints, and for default value, we can set default value for each of the field. And then if you have here something like any other extra constraints, it will be also put right here. Okay, so for now, this we are showing data dictionary or the metadata of our data or our table in this database. So you can also type or you can also use DASC, which stands for or short way of or shorthand of describe rather than the word describe. Let's say DBL. Okay, and then you can also use like the show fields. You can also use show fields from DBL or something like that. So any will do as long as you're comfortable. So it depends on you, no, as a database. How do I call it? As a database programmer, okay, or as a database designer. So all right, I guess that would be all for now. And Thank you for listening, and we're done with our goal for today. Okay, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you and have a great day.